So today I've got my really cheap pencils, I've got my really cheap paper, and I'm going to show you how to do a simple creature design. So feel free to follow along and let's see what happens. So first of all, I'm going to start with a circle drawing. Now I'm using a B pencil because it's darker and it'll show up on the paper better, but feel free to use whatever type of pencil you'd like. I'm then doing a circle around my circle. And next to that, I'm coming off slightly in an angle and I'm doing a bigger circle. That's going to be our cheek. On top of the circle on a circle, I'm doing a very thin bean shape. So it's a circle, bigger circle, and a bean. I'm then coming down from the bean shape and I'm just going to join the two together. Now this bit, it doesn't matter if you scoop it and have a dip here, or if you go up and over. As long as you kind of join the two together, you can do it long like this, or you can bring it and have it short all the way back here. This is where your imagination comes into it. Now from this first circle, I'm going to come off a slight angle and just do a little rectangle. And then I'm going to do a little circle just underneath that. That tells me where my horn base is going to start and where an ear could be, depending if I want to do external or internal ears. Yeah, creature design can be a bit mad. And I'm going to do another one of those little rectangles just above it. And then back here, I'm just going to do a little shape just to join it all together. So that's, if you like, that's where the brain's hiding. And then from there, your neck would come off. Like so. So that is a really basic start. Now, how to add the detail in. You don't have to stick to these lines. These lines are your guidelines. If you want to move them, you move them. It's your creature. So in my case, I'm not happy with this piece, so I'm going to move my eye up over here. Now, when drawing out a creature, try to keep your hand really light, not too much pressure. And then if you have to rub stuff out or erase stuff, it's not going to leave marks on the paper. So I'm using a triangle and I'm putting a little eye there and I'm doing another triangle around it. And that's going to be roughly my eye shape. I'm going to come back up to this bean and I'm going to change my shape. I'm going to come up and down. And then where my original line is, I'm going to do a little triangle shape in there and put some shading in, because that's going to be a hollow area. And then at the end here, I'm going to add a little kind of comma shape, and that's going to be the nose. So from where I've done my nose, this is quite hard for me to explain. I'm not used to explaining how I draw. When you get to a certain point, you draw through instinct and you don't think about what you're doing. It's like muscle memory. So explaining muscle memory is quite difficult. So I'm going to do a small C shape. Then I'm going to stop and do another C shape, slightly longer. And then I'm going to do, I guess, a V shape, but it's going to be, is it Virgo? Like the V for Virgo. So we come up. And I want the point of this V to line up with my eye. You'll see just here. And then up. And we're going to come over to that little point on the jaw. I know, I can't explain that. So I've gone a C, a long C, and then like an upside down, and almost an N, a V, and then back up to where that circle ends. And this part is called a jugal. Now I'm coming back to the eye, and this big area here, I'm going to add in some little hollow points where things like the sinuses are. So these are called nares, or windows basically. And I'm going to add a small D-sized one, a little C-shaped one, and another little D-size one just further down. Different animals have different shaped ones, so it's well worth having a little look at crocodile skulls, dinosaur skulls. You can get some really good ideas, and that's what's going to keep the skull really nice and light, so the animal's not struggling to lift its head. And then I'm going to come and do its chin. So where I've got the tip of the nose, I'm coming back in, and then I'm doing a little V here, and then I'm bringing that line all the way back to where my deepest point is, and then I'm going to bring it back up to this point here. I'm going to do a little shape there and then bring it in. So the deepest point of the jaw should line up basically with that whole line. I know this is, I wish I could explain it a simpler way. So I'm going to come back to the eye where I've got this rectangle. I'm going to make this a bit bigger, and I'm going to add some curves on the end, because the way that horns sit within the skull, there's often a ridge around it. So have a look at deer antlers, cow horns, even rhino horns. You can see it. And now rhino horns being keratin or fingernail material, whereas antlers are bone. Again, it's quite good to have a look and see what's around and how it looks on different animals. So I'm just going to do a really basic swoosh back here, and depending on if your animal's got horn or antler will depend on what details you put into that area. A lot of creature creation and drawing is about looking at the world around you and finding inspiration within it. And sorry about the squeak, my table has got a squeak. It won't squeak on command, which is a good thing, but it does squeak. So I'm just putting very, very light shadow in there, just to indicate that this piece is further away than this piece. And where we've got this straight line here, I'm just going to do a little curve and then a little bit of an opposite curve. I'm going to make this horn base a little bit deeper. Now originally I was going to, make you squeak, I was going to put my ear here, and you know what, I'm still going to do that. So I'm going to do like a circle and a part circle, so where my circle is, and then a diamond shape. Now this can be as long or short as you like, and then I'm going to follow that shape but just a little bit further in. I'm going to add some shadow, and that's a really, really basic ear. Again, have a look at different animals for different shaped ears. You'd be surprised at the variety of ears. And that is my ear. And then at this point I can start adding as much detail or as little detail as I want. I tend to just very, very lightly put in where shadows are going to fall. And you can see I'm holding my pencil all the way back here. That's just so that I don't put too much pressure on it. And I'm using a small circular motion, very lightly, just to add some shadow in there. And that is how I would start a very, very basic creature. Now, once you've mapped up your creature, if you've drawn lightly enough, you can easily take a eraser and just remove any of those guidelines. Or if you've pushed a little bit too hard, you can grab some layout paper, which is really, really good for the sort of thing, and pretty much trace over it with the layout paper. Now, when you're learning, tracing is a good way of building up muscle memory, because you'll start to remember how you created things. But it's not ideal. I mean, it's good if you can learn your shapes and draw your shapes. It's always good. So try to use tracing to an absolute bare minimum. Now where I've put my eraser, I'm just going to go over some of my lines and neaten bits up. And I'm going to add in a couple of little details. Depending on the skin of your animal, remember to add in if it's got fur, if it's got feathers. I'm just going to chuck a couple of little scales here and there just to indicate there's something there, and a few lines on my horns. A little bit of shadow under there, and there we roughly have it. That is how I would approach doing a really basic creature. As I say, you can go as detailed or as simple as you like. Just enjoy the process of creating. Have a look at real animals, reptiles, mammals, birds, and see what inspiration you can pull from there. Don't be afraid to go in and try colour. Try black and white. Try different mediums. What's your favourite medium, in all honesty? I mean, I love pencils. I'm useless at watercolour, but I still give it a go. I bet a few of you are really good at watercolours. And I enjoy markers. And there we go. So I hope this has given you some inspiration to have a go at drawing a really simple creature head that you can take and develop and grow and turn into something completely different. And every time you do this little drawing, you'll see how different it goes. Short nose, long nose, big horns, little horns. All of these things will change the type of creature that you create. Your possibilities are endless. Especially when you're stuck knowing what to draw, do a simple creature head and it will help inspire you. So till next time, all the best and happy drawing to everybody. Keep being creative and keep being awesome.